The Austin sun beat down on the asphalt when Sarah Mitchell stopped in front of Apex Auto Works. Through the window, she saw a red Ferrari 488 on a lift and 3 frustrated mechanics. A stylish woman watched, irritated. Sarah tightened the strap of her battered backpack. 2 days without eating. The shelter had a line. It was now or never. She touched her grandfather's jacket pocket and felt the box wrench, the keepsake from his old recording. The best hands I ever saw. 9 years ago, before everything fell apart. She drew a breath and crossed the street. The workshop's air conditioning hit like a slap. Everything was white, chrome, expensive. The smell of new tires. Sarah looked at her filthy clothes and almost turned back. A tall blonde. Jake asked what she wanted in a go away tone. Sarah said she had heard the engine noise and could take a look. The shop went quiet for 2 seconds, then Jake laughed and called the others. The youngest, Marcus, already had his phone up, sure this would blow up on TikTok. The third, black and broad-shouldered, Tyler, did not laugh. He looked more troubled than mocking. Sarah said she understood engines. Jake scoffed and explained that this was a Ferrari 488, a turbocharged V8 with 670 horsepower, not a Civic. She answered calmly that she knew exactly what it was. She had heard their cranking attempt, and the problem was not where they were looking. The elegant woman in a beige blazer stepped forward, Elena Rodriguez. She asked Sarah to explain. Sarah said it was the crankshaft position sensor. The sound was typical when the engine control unit, ECU, cut fuel and spark for safety. That was why it started but would not rev. The mood shifted. Elena asked how she knew just by listening. Experience. Sarah said. Jake tried to take back control. Even if she were right, they would need a scanner, and they did not have one. Sarah replied that the shop next door did and that the owner knew her. That got attention. Marcus even lowered his phone to ask how she knew Carlos. She did not answer. She was not about to say she sometimes slept behind his shop. Elena studied Sarah and asked her name. When she heard, Sarah Mitchell. She explained she had a meeting in 3 hours with about $5 million on the line. She wanted to know what would happen if Sarah was wrong. Sarah said she owed nothing. And if she was right? Sarah's stomach growled loud. She asked only for food. Embarrassment filled the room. Even Jake looked uncomfortable. Elena decided 3 mechanics had failed. Better to risk this than lose $5 million. She told Jake to let Sarah try. Sarah walked to the Ferrari. Every step felt heavy. Up close, her hands began to shake. She hid them. The smell of hot metal and fuel pulled her back to Daytona for a heartbeat. The same heat, the same sound. Her grandfather's voice echoed, machines do not lie, She focused again. She explained that the sensor sat at the rear of the block, hard to reach, which was why no one had checked it. Tyler asked how she knew. I have worked on these engines. They needed the scanner. She said she would get it in 5 minutes. Tyler decided to go with her. At Rodriguez Brothers. Carlos was happy to see her but turned serious when he noticed Tyler. She asked for the scanner for the Ferrari and promised to bring it straight back. He trusted her. On the way back, Tyler asked how she knew the owner. She answered only that he was a good person. That was all she wanted to say. Back at Apex, Sarah connected the scanner and moved through the menus with such ease that Jake straightened up. She read the code, P0335, crankshaft sensor, intermittent signal. Exactly what she had said. The shop went silent. Marcus whispered to his camera that she had nailed it. Elena asked if she could fix it. Sarah said yes, but she would need to access the sensor and clean or replace it, 2 to 3 hours. Elena was direct, $500 if she did it in 2 hours. Food either way. Sarah could hardly believe it. That was a month of food. But it was also a $300,000 engine. She asked what happened if she could not finish. Elena said then she could not, but Elena would buy her food anyway. And she explained the reason, looking Sarah in the eye, because everyone deserves a second chance. Jake exploded, saying it was absurd to let someone off the street touch a Ferrari. Elena told him to watch and learn. Sarah began to take things apart, but the tremor got worse. 15 minutes in, she dropped a bolt. Jake laughed, satisfied. She pushed on, but her hands would not obey. When she went to install the 4th bolt, the wrench slipped and left a fine scratch in the red paint. Sarah froze. Jake arrived in time to shout that she had scratched a $300,000 Ferrari. She said it was superficial and she could polish it. Elena examined it, 2 inches, almost invisible. She asked if it could be fixed. Sarah said yes. Jake wanted her off the job immediately. Elena held the line. First she wanted to know why Sarah was shaking. Sarah told them she had essential tremor and took propranolol, but she was out. She had no money. The shop fell silent. Elena pulled out her phone and called a doctor. She secured a prescription at Walgreens in 1 hour. She said she would pay and that it was part of the job. She told Marcus to drive Sarah and buy food. She told Sarah she would come back, take the medicine, and finish. There was still time. Seeing a real way out for the first time. Sarah said she could do it. She just needed her hands to remember. Elena said they would remember. 25 minutes later, Sarah returned with food in her stomach and the propranolol already working. She climbed the step stool again. Now her hands obeyed. She installed the bolts with precision. She felt, however, that the last one would not take proper torque. The threads were stripped. Someone before her had used the wrong tool. Tyler confirmed the Porsche guy had done that. Sarah asked for helicoil. She ran to Carlos, grabbed the kit, and came back almost in a sprint. She worked like her life depended on it. She enlarged the hole, seated the steel helicoil, reinstalled the bolt. She reconnected everything. She cleared the codes. Moment of truth. She slipped into the Ferrari and turned the key. The engine caught clean, without hesitation. She blipped the throttle, instant response. She stepped out on wobbly legs and said simply that it worked. Elena tested it and confirmed, it was better than before. The shop went mute. Then Tyler began to applaud. Marcus joined in. Even Jake clapped, begrudgingly. Sarah cried quietly, grease on her face, tool in her hand. Elena placed $500 in her palm and said the scratch had been an accident and good work deserved to be paid. Then she left for her meeting. The guys stood looking at Sarah. Marcus asked if she had somewhere to sleep. She did not. They offered the back sofa and shower, better than the street. Sarah asked why. Tyler gave the same answer as Elena. Maybe she just needed a chance. That night, Sarah slept on the sofa, wrapped in her grandfather's jacket, gripping the box wrench. And for the first time in 7 years, she did not dream of fire or screaming. Only engines purring and her grandfather's voice reminding her, her hands had never forgotten the truth. Sarah woke to the smell of coffee and, for an instant, did not know where she was. Then she remembered the shop, the sofa, the $500 in her jacket. Not a dream. She rose with her body aching from the bad position, but it was the good ache of work done and paid for. In the main area, Tyler made coffee in a simple machine. When he saw she was awake, he looked pleased and asked if she had slept well. She said better than in years. He offered coffee and said Marcus had brought donuts. Sarah took the mug with hands still a little shaky, remembering she needed to take propranolol again. Elena had guaranteed 3 days of medication until the appointment on Monday. She thanked him. Tyler, awkward with gratitude, mentioned that Jake would arrive in half an hour and that he was not exactly mean. He just carried old baggage. He felt he should explain. Jake's father had owned the shop, a hard man who repeated that his son was incompetent. He died last year. Jake inherited everything, but his father's words kept echoing. Sarah understood instantly. She knew how voices of the dead could keep giving orders. Marcus arrived with the box of donuts and was genuinely happy to see that she had stayed. He offered a chocolate one. The morning had barely begun when the shop door burst open. A woman rushed in carrying a little girl around 5, the child's face red with fever. The woman begged for help, said her car would not start and she needed to get to the hospital. Tyler stepped forward to calm her and asked what car it was. She said a Honda Civic parked on the street, and when she tried to start it, nothing happened, not even a click. Marcus was already going for jumper cables, assuming the battery, but from the description Sarah sensed it was not that. If the battery were weak, there would at least be noise. She said she needed to look at the car. The 3 of them went outside. The Civic's hood was up. The mother stayed at the wheel with the child coughing. Sarah turned the key and confirmed, nothing, not even dash lights. She concluded it was not the battery, it was an electrical failure, probably the main ground. The corrosion must have broken the circuit. She began to search and found the thick cable from battery to chassis, covered in white-green corrosion, almost crumbling. She said she would fix it in 10 minutes with a new terminal and in 5 with a temporary cleanup. Tyler said they did not have a terminal. So she decided to clean it anyway and asked Marcus for baking soda and hot water. Marcus ran to the shop and came back with a plastic bottle of hot water and baking soda. Sarah poured the solution over the terminal. The corrosion fizzed and released. She scrubbed with a steel brush, fast, knowing every second was hospital time. The mother, desperate inside the car, asked if it would work. Sarah said yes, though she knew the corrosion was deep and the connection might be fragile. She worked for long minutes, cleaned what she could, reconnected the cable and tightened it hard. She told the mother to try. The woman turned the key and nothing happened. She almost cried that she needed to take her daughter. Without overthinking, Sarah struck the terminal hard to seek the connection and told her to try again. This time the engine coughed, hesitated, and started. But she saw the terminal still fuming with corrosion. It would not last long. She told the woman to leave immediately. Do not shut the car off. Go straight to the hospital. The driver understood and shot away. When the Civic disappeared, Sarah, Tyler, and Marcus stood on the sidewalk facing the empty street. Tyler asked if it would hold to the hospital. Sarah admitted she did not know. Maybe, if they were lucky. Marcus checked his phone and said the nearest hospital was 15 minutes away. That uncertainty sank heavy on Sarah. She imagined the car dying before they got there, the girl getting worse on the way. Her hands began to shake, but it was not the medication shake. It was the other one, born of memory, the voice ordering brake checks, the instant of the crash. Tyler touched her shoulder and said she had done what was possible. She murmured, "What if it was not enough?" Neither of them knew how to answer. Back in the shop, Sarah could not settle. She paced, watched the street, as if waiting for the woman to return and tell the ending. Marcus pulled over a chair, asked her to sit, and said if the driver did not come back it probably meant she had stayed at the hospital with her daughter, which was a good sign. Tyler reinforced that was most likely. Jake arrived at 9 o'clock, saw Sarah, and was surprised she was still there. Marcus told him what had happened. Jake listened without much comment and said only that a bad ground was a real suspect when there was not even a click. In his way, it was almost a compliment. At 10 o'clock in the morning, Elena returned, this time in a black BMW. She came in saying she had closed the $5 million deal and that it had only been possible because the car was ready. She thanked the team and, especially, Sarah. But she noticed Sarah was far away. Tyler told her about the Civic. Elena, without delay, called St. David's Hospital, the closest one, saying she only wanted to confirm if a child with fever had arrived. She could not get details, but she heard enough. The girl was under observation for pneumonia and had arrived in time. When Elena passed along the news, Sarah almost collapsed with relief and repeated that they had made it in time. Elena corrected her, saying they got there because of Sarah. Still, Sarah remembered they had almost not, that if the terminal had failed earlier. Tyler cut in, saying it had not, and that was what mattered. Even Jake agreed. She had done an emergency repair under pressure and the result was good, period. Then Elena called Sarah to the back of the shop to talk in private. She was direct. She had looked Sarah up the night before and knew who she was. Sarah Grace Mitchell, tied to stock car racing, involved in the Daytona 2018 accident with Travis Coleman. She knew that, criminally, Sarah had been cleared, but the public had destroyed her. She knew about the grandfather, William Mitchell, who had worked with Elena's father in the 90s and had been considered one of the best. Elena said because of all this, she did not see Sarah as a stranger off the street, but as someone with real talent. Then came the offer. She wanted Sarah to work there for real, not as a favor, because she was better than the 3 mechanics Elena already had. Sarah said she could not accept because she shook, because she made mistakes, because she had almost damaged a Ferrari and had almost not saved a child. Elena answered that even with all that against her, Sarah still fixed things, and asked who was deciding she did not deserve to work again, journalists? The family that sued? Or Sarah herself, repeating guilt? Then Sarah told the truth. On the day of the accident she was sick, feverish, dosed with cold medicine, and still cleared the car because she was pressured. Travis died. Since then, she had lived as if she should have died too. Elena answered with her own story. Her sister had also died because of a brake failure Elena had not seen. She carried that for years until she turned it into an automotive safety business to keep others from dying that way. She said guilt does not bring anyone back, it only stops you from living. She offered treatment, salary, stability. Sarah said she needed to think. Elena agreed but warned that, think, did not mean disappear. That night, instead of going back to the shop sofa, Sarah used $50 to pay for a simple motel room. She took the longest shower in years, bought second-hand clothes, and stared at the other $450. It was clean money, earned for what she knew how to do. But her mind kept repeating, what if the terminal had failed? What if the girl had died? That thought took her to the motel bar. A glass of whiskey appeared in front of her almost without her choosing it. She had been sober 7 years, since the night she drank herself unconscious after the accident. She thought one sip would calm her. She took her grandfather's box wrench from her pocket, set it on the table beside the glass, and remembered the engraving. The best hands I ever saw. At that moment, the phone rang. Unknown number. It was Tyler. He had gotten her number from Marcus and called because he recognized her state. He had seen it in his brother who struggled with addiction. He said she was not an addict, she was afraid, and fear makes us destroy good things. He reminded her she had fixed an impossible Ferrari and helped a child in 2 days. It made no sense to throw that away for one drink. He asked only that she did not drink. After a long silence, Sarah slid the glass back to the bartender. Tyler stayed on the line as long as she needed. When she hung up, Sarah took the number Elena had left her and sent a short message saying she accepted the job and asking when she should start. The reply came quickly, Monday, at 8 o'clock. Welcome back. Sarah lay down on a clean bed paid for by her own work and decided she would face tomorrow sober. She knew it would not be easy. But that night, she chose tomorrow, and that, for someone who had lived years trapped in yesterday, was already a victory. On Monday, at 8 o'clock in the morning, Sarah had already been waiting in front of Apex Auto Works for 20 minutes. She wore the clean clothes she had bought secondhand, tied back her hair, and took her propranolol, but her hands still trembled a little, a mix of medicine and nerves. Elena arrived first with 2 coffees and handed one to her. She said, without preamble, that the rules would be simple, for now. Sarah would work under Tyler's supervision, not for lack of trust, but because the shop needed formal logs for her license. Jake remained shop chief. Marcus handled social media, and Sarah would focus only on the mechanical work. She also made clear that Sarah's tremor was not a secret and no one there would judge her for stopping to take medication or for having a bad day. Sarah agreed, grateful and still a little skittish. When the others arrived, Tyler greeted her like it was the most natural thing in the world that she was there. Marcus showed up excited, barely holding back 1,000 questions. Jake simply nodded, neutral, but not hostile. The first job of the day was a Porsche 911 with a strange whine. The owner, a rushed lawyer, dropped the keys and left. Tyler asked if she wanted to take a look. Sarah started the engine, listened for 3 seconds, and called the start of a failing alternator bearing, something that would seize in a week. Jake checked and saw she was right. The second car was a Tesla Model 3 with a warning on the dash. Sarah saw the error and said it was an incorrect reading from the battery temperature sensor and that a software update would fix it, not a parts swap. Right again. The third was a BMW pulling to the left. She did not waste time on alignment. She pointed to the right brake pad sticking, with the caliper piston seized. 3 for 3. At lunch, Jake called her aside. Something had changed in his face, a mixture of admiration and unease. He wanted to know how she did that. He had studied, taken courses, and she seemed to just listen and know. Sarah said her grandfather taught her since she was little and used to say machines spoke. You just had to learn the language. Jake said his own father never taught him anything, only criticized. It was the first time he showed vulnerability, and Sarah answered honestly that mistakes are part of learning and his father was wrong. Jake looked surprised, but he accepted it and went back to work. On Wednesday, while Sarah worked under a Mercedes, she heard Marcus shout for everyone. When she came out, she saw the three of them around his phone. On the screen, a TikTok with millions of views. Homeless woman fixes Ferrari the pros could not. The video showed everything: her ragged arrival, the mockery, the perfect diagnosis, the engine firing. Sarah's stomach dropped and she asked if Marcus had posted it. He denied it immediately, said he had not posted anything. Someone on the street must have filmed. Comments were flooding in. Most praised her. They said she was incredible, that it made no sense for someone so good to be on the street, that they wanted to hire her. But then other comments appeared. Some recognized her. People wrote that she was the same Sarah Mitchell from stock car racing. In minutes, the mood changed. Accusations that she killed Travis Coleman. Questions about why she was not in prison. People saying she should never go near cars again. The ground seemed to vanish under Sarah. The smell of oil turned suffocating. She said she needed air and ran out before Elena, walking in at that moment, could stop her. Elena found her 40 minutes later, sitting on the curb a few blocks away, head between her knees. She sat beside her without touching, just waiting. When Sarah could speak, she rasped that the accident had been her fault. She told how that day she had worked sick, feverish, doped on cold pills, and her boss threatened to fire her if she did not clear the car. She was young, a woman on an all-male team, and she wanted to prove herself. So she inspected anyway. There was a microscopic pinhole in the brake line. Under normal conditions, she would have seen it. That day, she did not. She cleared the car. Travis, his girlfriend, and his best friend trusted her. And he died. Elena reminded her that the investigation had found a manufacturing defect invisible to the naked eye, but Sarah answered that with better equipment and more time she would have detected it. But the boss did not allow it. And she gave in. And the car hit the wall at 200 on race day. The brake failed, the wall, the explosion. She was cleared criminally, but in civil court she lost everything: money, house, car, even her grandfather's tools. She managed to hide only the box wrench she carried to this day. She said her grandfather, already ill, watched his granddaughter be crushed by the media, grew heartsick, and died 6 months later, and her mother blamed her for that too. After that, Sarah said she just slipped. No family, no money, her name scorched in the industry. She began to drink, lost her apartment, and ended up on the street for 7 years. Then Elena told her about her own sister, Sophia, who also died because of a brake failure Elena had not seen. The difference was that in Elena's case there were no spotlights, and she could grieve in silence. Sarah could not. But the pain was alike. And she explained that guilt without purpose turns into poison. In her view, 7 years of self-exile was punishment enough. Sarah, however, said she would not be able to return to the shop now that everyone knew. Elena answered that what people would know was that she was human and had survived the worst day of her life. She held out her hand and said Sarah could keep hiding or she could return and show she was more than one mistake. Sarah looked at that hand, at the 7 wasted years, and chose to go back. When they reached the shop, 2 news vans were parked outside. Reporters surged forward with microphones, asking if it was true she was the Daytona mechanic, whether she felt guilty for Travis's death, why she had ended up on the street, and whether she was working on cars again. Sarah locked up, but Elena stepped in front and ordered them to leave, saying it was private property. They pressed on, asking if Elena had hired Sarah knowing her past. Elena answered that she had hired her because she was the best mechanic she had ever seen. The reporters did not back off. So Marcus, standing in the doorway, raised his own phone and began filming the media, saying loudly that this was the press harassing a woman they themselves had destroyed 7 years earlier, and that it was always easier to punish forever than let someone rebuild. Tyler came alongside and reminded them Sarah had been acquitted. Jake appeared last and, to Sarah's surprise, said she worked there with his approval and if anyone had a problem, they could take it up with him. Seeing that broke something in Sarah, not pain, but protection. One of the reporters, younger, said the public wanted to hear her side. Sarah looked at the 4 of them in the doorway and made a decision. She said she would speak once and then wanted to be left alone. Elena tried to say she did not have to, but Sarah said she needed to, because she was tired of hiding. She told the cameras everything. She said her name, said she made a mistake that cost Travis his life, explained that she was sick and under pressure, that the defect was microscopic and identified by the expert report as manufactured. But even so, she asked herself every day if she could have insisted. She said she was acquitted but did not forgive herself and spent 7 years punishing herself. And she said that week someone had given her a second chance and she had chosen to use her hands to keep that from happening to another family. She looked straight into the camera and apologized to Travis, wherever he was. When she finished, she went inside with Elena, Marcus, Tyler, and Jake. Outside, the reporters stood in silence for a few seconds, then began to leave. The youngest murmured to his camera that he had just seen someone face the worst mistake of her life and choose to go on anyway. Inside, Sarah trembled, but now from relief. Marcus and Tyler said she had been incredible. Jake, awkward, repeated a phrase he had once heard from his father about a person being defined by what they do after the mistake, and added that it applied to women too. Elena hugged her and said it was one of the bravest things she had ever seen. Sarah allowed the hug and, for the first time, believed it might be possible that she deserved forgiveness. That night, her video spread as well. Only this time, the comments had a different tone, many people saying everyone deserves a second chance, people asking that she be allowed to work in peace, people asking her to forgive herself. And among thousands of messages, one from the Coleman family's verified account saying that Travis loved cars and would be happy to know she had not given up, that they hoped she would find peace. Sarah cried all night, but unlike other times, she did not cry from guilt. She cried from release. Life at Apex found a rhythm. Sarah started arriving every day at 7:30 in the morning, half an hour before the others, took her propranolol, grabbed the coffee Tyler left ready, and spent a few minutes organizing herself inside. The online comments had almost vanished. Most people had moved on. Now and then someone recognized her, but in general the clients only wanted their cars back, and she returned every one, perfect. Jake no longer argued with her diagnoses. Marcus practically adopted Sarah as a reference point and followed her around with questions. Tyler became a kind of older brother. Elena stopped by twice a week to see if everything was right. It was almost a normal routine, something Sarah had forgotten how to feel. On Thursday around 10 o'clock, a black Bentley Continental rolled in. The driver got out, opened the door, and from inside stepped a man in his early 50s. Italian suit and an expensive watch. Jake recognized him at once, Senator Williams. Still on the phone, the senator said he needed the car the same day because he had a dinner with the governor at 7 and would not show up in a ride share. He said the engine started fine but lost power on the highway and had nearly caused an accident the night before. He complained that he had already taken it to 3 shops and each one said something different, spark plugs, coils, and nothing fixed it. He added that if they did not solve it, he would sue the manufacturer. Sarah was sorting tools but paid attention to the description. That starts and then cuts power sounded like just one thing. Jake assured the senator they would handle it and the driver took him away. As soon as the car left, the 4 gathered around the Bentley. Sarah said from the symptom it was turbo. The wastegate was likely sticking, boost spiked and the ECU went into protection, which was why it died on the highway. Tyler noted that on that model the valve sat buried in the middle of the engine bay, a pain to reach. Jake asked how long. Sarah did the math, 6 hours if done carefully, disassemble, access, clean or replace, reassemble. But they did not have 6. It was 10 o'clock and the car had to leave by 7. In practice they had 9 hours on the clock but only 5 or 6 of effective work time. Sarah said that if everyone went in together, they could do it in 5, though very tight. Jake agreed and said she would lead. The start was flawless. For 3 hours, Sarah disassembled safely while Tyler and Marcus organized bolts, capped connections, photographed hose positions, and Jake checked the manual and torque specs. A pit crew rhythm. Until the delicate moment, removed the turbo to reach the wastegate, the tremor hit hard. Not the low hum she had been managing, but that heavy shake that makes the hand want to slip. Tyler noticed instantly and asked if she was all right. She said she just needed a minute. She went to the bathroom, opened the bottle, and saw it was empty. She had taken the last pill in the morning. The appointment with Elena's doctor to renew the prescription was the next day. She came back to the bay trying to hold on, telling herself it was only one day, only one bolt, only finishing. But the turbo bolt was tiny, at a nasty angle, and demanded a steady hand. She tried once and missed. She tried again, her hand shuddered. On the 3rd try, the wrench slipped and nicked the turbine housing. The scratch was superficial, but it was a Bentley. An expensive part. A client who could ruin the shop with one call. Jake tried to say it happens and they should keep going, but Sarah saw the tightness in his face. She tried to push through anyway. The tremor worsened. The bolt slipped from her fingers, fell into the bay, and vanished. Frustration burst. She slammed the bench and cursed loud. The whole shop froze. It was the first time they had seen Sarah lose control. Tyler went to her and asked her to stop for a bit, said they would find the bolt and she could come back. Jake asked if she was out of medication. She admitted yes, she had run out and thought she could manage one day. Marcus already had a flashlight and found the bolt caught in a hose. But Sarah was already stepping away, saying she could not, that her hands did not work, that Jake should finish. She stumbled out, eyes wet. On the street she walked aimlessly, jamming her hands in her pockets to hide the shake and hearing the old voice. One day without pills and you crumble. They trusted you and now you will wreck it all. It was like that with Travis. It will be like that here. The phone rang. Elena. Tyler had called her and now she asked where Sarah was. Sarah said it did not matter. She had ruined everything and without medication she was useless. Elena did not argue. She asked for the street name. Sarah looked up and said 5th and Brazos. Elena said she would be there in minutes. She was, in the red Ferrari Sarah had fixed. Sarah climbed in. Elena drove to a nearby park and parked. She asked to see Sarah's hands. The tremor still ran strong. Elena took a bottle from her bag and explained that since she had met Sarah she always carried extra propranolol. Sarah swallowed 2 pills with difficulty. Elena told her that in about 20 minutes they would kick in and, until then, she wanted to talk. Sarah said, drained, there was nothing to say. She had failed and might have compromised the shop's reputation, especially Jake's, who already had a rough history with his father. Elena corrected her, this was not failure, it was a bad day with a medical condition. Sarah insisted that if she depended on a pill, she was not trustworthy. Elena reminded her that essential tremor is an illness, not a weakness, and it is treatable. Then Sarah said what sat under everything. Every time she put her hands on an engine she remembered that one of her errors had already cost lives. That day she had almost scratched an $8,000 part, but in another context it could be a brake, a steering system, something that could put someone at risk. And that fear arrived with the tremor. Elena listened and, instead of soothing, shared what she was planning, to open a training center for young people, especially women, to build mechanics with real support. She wanted Sarah as the lead instructor. Sarah almost laughed from nerves. She said sometimes she barely managed to work. How could she teach? Elena explained that teaching was more than turning a wrench. It was passing on what no manual writes: the ear, the touch, the reasoning, the right stubbornness. She said girls who had heard, "You cannot do it," their whole lives needed to see someone who fell and got back up. And if one day she made a mistake with her students, she would show them the most important thing: how to rise. The opening would be in 6 months, but she needed an answer in up to 2 weeks, because investors wanted to know who was on the team. The medicine began taking hold. The shake eased to a light sway. Sarah said she would think about it. Elena said that was all she asked. When they returned to the shop, Sarah braced for shouting, blame, delays. Instead, she found a team at work. Jake was under the Bentley. Tyler passed tools. Marcus checked the manual. Jake slid out and said he had managed to pull the turbo and Sarah had been right. The wastegate was carboned up. He was already cleaning it. Tyler said that with her there they would be faster, and asked if she was coming back. Sarah looked at her hands, now steady, and came back. They worked 4 more hours straight. With her back in the mix and everything clicking, they finished at 6:30, half an hour ahead of schedule. They tested the car, smooth engine, no cut, perfect response. At 7 o'clock, the senator arrived. He saw the Bentley running like new and looked satisfied. Jake gave the cost, $2,500, and he paid without fuss. Looking at Sarah, he said he knew her from somewhere. She said maybe from the internet. He remembered, the mechanic from stock car racing, the video. She braced for judgment, but the senator held out his hand and said it takes courage to come back after being knocked down. He respected that. Sarah shook it, surprised. When he left, the mood was victory. Their first heavy job as a true team. Jake opened beers to celebrate and offered one to Sarah. She declined and asked for a soda, remembering the whiskey she had almost drunk. Jake said he respected that and pulled a cola. Before leaving, Elena called her aside and reminded her, 2 weeks to answer about the training center. Sarah said she would think. And as she walked back to the motel she could now afford monthly with her shop salary, she realized she still had fear, a lot, but also that maybe Elena was right. Maybe teaching people not to quit was exactly what she needed to stop quitting on herself. She was not ready to say yes. But for the first time in many years, she was not saying no. 3 weeks later, Sarah sat in Elena's office, the contract on the table between them. Mitchell Rodriguez Automotive Training Center. Sarah read the header. You put my name on it. It is fair. You are the heart of the project. Sarah ran her fingers over the pages. Salary. Benefits. Health plan that would cover full treatment for the tremor. Even therapy. Why are you doing all this? Sarah asked. Because Sophia deserves to be remembered. And Travis too. And the best way to honor those we lost is to keep others from being lost. Elena slid a pen across the table. And because you deserve a life. Sarah. A real life. Sarah picked up the pen. Her hands trembled lightly, but now well controlled with adjusted medication. She signed. When do I start? You already did. Elena smiled. We have 15 young people enrolled. 10 women, 5 men. Most cannot afford traditional trade school. They start in 6 weeks. 6 weeks. Panic rose in Sarah. Elena. I do not know how to teach. You will learn. I will bring in an educator to help with teaching methods. But the knowledge? No one teaches that better than you. They talked for another hour. Curriculum. Tools needed. Partnership with Apex for hands-on training. When Sarah left Elena's office, for the first time in years, she had a schedule. Plans. A future. Back at Apex, she told the team. Marcus hugged her so hard he took her breath. Tyler clapped her shoulder, proud. Even Jake smiled for real. Dot. You are going to be great. Dot. Jake said. Dot. Just do not forget us when you are famous. Dot. Dot. Never. Dot. Friday, 4 in the afternoon. Slow movement in the shop. Sarah was teaching Marcus about direct injection when they heard it. Crash. Shattering glass. Twisted metal. Screams. They all ran to the street. 100 yards ahead, at the corner, an SUV had slammed into a pole. Smoke rose from the hood. The front was destroyed. Worse, another car, a small sedan, was upside down on the sidewalk. Someone screamed inside. Dot. Call emergency. Dot. Sarah shouted, already running. She reached the sedan first. It lay on its side, windows shattered. A woman hung from the seatbelt, conscious, bleeding from her forehead. In the back seat, also buckled in, a teenage girl around 15, unconscious. Dot. My daughter, the woman cried. Dot. Please, my daughter is not responding. Dot. Sarah assessed fast. The car was unstable, it could roll completely at any moment. Strong smell of gasoline. A leak. Tyler ran up. Dot. Ambulance is coming. 10 minutes. Dot. Dot. We do not have 10 minutes. Dot. Sarah pointed to the fuel leak. Dot. If it catches fire. Dot. Dot. What do we do? Dot. Sarah looked at the car. Doors crushed, impossible to open. But the windshield was already shattered, halfway out of the frame. Dot. We pull them through the windshield. You hold the car to keep it from rolling. Marcus. Dot. She shouted. He was at the SUV checking the driver. Dot. How is it there? Dot. Dot. Driver is conscious. Leg pinned. But stable. Dot. Dot. Stay with him. Tyler. Jake, with me. Dot. The three moved like a pit crew. Tyler and Jake braced the car, keeping it from rolling. Sarah climbed onto the hood carefully and began pulling at the windshield. Laminated glass. Tough. She yanked hard. Her hand started to tremble with effort, but she ignored it. She pulled again. Crack. The windshield gave. Sarah tossed it aside. Dot. Ma'am. I am getting you out first. Dot. Sarah shouted to the woman hanging. Dot. No. My daughter first. She is not breathing right. Dot. Sarah looked at the teenager. Shallow breaths. Pale face. Dot. All right. I will get her. Dot. Sarah slid through the gap where the windshield had been. Tight space. The gasoline stung her throat. She had to be quick. She reached the girl. She checked the pulse. Weak but present. She unbuckled the belt carefully, supporting the girl's weight. Dot. Tyler. Take her. Dot. Tyler positioned himself. With effort, Sarah passed the girl through the opening. Tyler lifted her out, ran her clear of the car, laid her on the sidewalk. Dot. She is breathing. Dot. He called. Dot. But she needs medics. Sarah went back for the mother. Now you. My leg is trapped, the woman said, voice ragged with pain. Sarah looked. The dash had buckled, trapping the woman's leg at a bad angle. Likely fracture. It will hurt. Sarah warned. Badly. I do not care. Get me out. Sarah worked fast. She used a metal bar from the car as a lever. She pried the dash, opening a sliver of space. Now. Pull your leg. The woman screamed but pulled. The leg came free. Sarah unlatched the belt and held her. Jake! Help here. Jake half climbed through the opening and helped carry the woman. They pulled her out seconds before the car shifted, rolling completely. Whoosh! Flames licked out. Small at first, then bigger. Back. Sarah yelled. They ran. 10 seconds later. Boom! The fuel tank blew. A fireball climbed 10 feet. Sarah dropped onto the curb, shaking. Not from fear. Pure adrenaline. Around her, the mother conscious, being stabilized by Marcus, who had learned first aid. The daughter breathing better now, waking slowly. The SUV driver helped out by Jake, leg broken but alive. Ambulances arrived. Police. Firefighters. But everyone was already safe. Sarah did not notice the crowd filming. Phones everywhere. Some had started recording at the moment of impact. One clip in particular, the perfect angle, captured everything. Sarah climbing the hood, ripping the windshield free, sliding into the smoking car, lifting the girl out, going back for the mother. The explosion seconds after they cleared the vehicle. It went up on social media at 16 minutes to 5 in the afternoon. By 5:30 in the afternoon, it had 2 million views. By 6 o'clock in the evening, it was on every local news channel. Austin hero, former stock car mechanic saves family from burning car. Sarah Mitchell, who lost everything after fatal crash, saves 3 lives. From homeless to hero, the incredible journey of Sarah Mitchell. Sarah was at the hospital having cuts treated and being checked for smoke inhalation when Elena rushed in. Are you all right? They told me you went into a burning car. I am fine. Just a few scrapes. Sarah. Elena showed her the phone. You need to see this. It was the video. And the comments. Thousands of them. But not like last time. This woman is a true hero. She risked her life without hesitation. That is courage. Sarah Mitchell deserves all respect. She overcame tragedy and still saves lives. And then, a message from a verified account that made Sarah cry. From the team Travis had raced for. Travis Coleman always said Sarah Mitchell had hands of gold and a lion's heart. Today the world saw he was right. We are proud of you. Sarah, dot, dot. Travis worked for them before the accident. Dot. Elena said gently. Sarah could not speak. She only cried. Elena held her and let her shed years of pain, guilt, and, finally, relief. Later, the mother Sarah had saved, identified as Diana Reeves, gave an interview. Dot. That woman went into a car that was catching fire. She took my daughter first, even while I was begging. Then she came back for me. Who does that? An angel. She is an angel. Dot. The daughter, Emma Reeves, 15, spoke to from her hospital bed. Dot. I saw her. Even with smoke and fear, she had this determination. Like failure was not an option. When I grow up, I want to be like her. Dot. 3 days later, the Apex crew threw a barbecue to celebrate. In Tyler's backyard, they grilled, drank, Sarah had soda, and laughed. Family. Elena arrived late, but not alone. With her was a man in his early 40s, a familiar face. Sarah recognized him at once and froze. David Coleman. Travis's brother. Dot. Sarah. Dot. Elena said softly. Dot. David asked to meet you. If you do not want to, dot. Dot. No, dot. Sarah stood, legs weak. Dot. It is all right, dot. David approached. For a long moment, they only looked at each other. Dot. I hated you. Dot. David said at last. Dot. For 5 years. I blamed you for everything. For my brother's death. For my family's pain. Dot. Sarah nodded. Dot. You had reason to hate me. Dot. Dot. No. I did not. Dot. David shook his head. Dot. The investigation was clear. A manufacturing defect. But it was easier to blame you than accept it was an accident. That sometimes, terrible things happen with no one to blame. Dot. Dot. I should have seen it. Dot. Dot. With equipment your boss did not provide. While you were sick. Under pressure. Dot. David cut in. Dot. Sarah, my brother talked about you. He said you were the best. That you had a bright future. He would be broken to know what happened to you after. Dot. Dot. I did not deserve a future after what I did. Dot. Dot. I saw the video. You going into that car. Dot. David said. Dot. Do you know what I thought? I thought Travis was right about her. She has a lion's heart. Dot. Tears burned in Sarah's eyes. Dot. My family, it took time. But we watched your videos. We read your story. And we realized you suffered as much as we did. More, maybe. Because you carried guilt that was not fully yours. Dot. David held out his hand. Dot. So I came to say, we forgive you. And more important, you need to forgive yourself. Dot. Sarah looked at the offered hand. She shook, but not from essential tremor. From pure emotion. She took his hand. And when David pulled her into a hug, she finally let 7 years of weight slide off her shoulders. Dot. Thank you. Dot. She whispered. Dot. Thank you. Dot. When they parted, there was not a dry eye in the yard. Jake pretended to check the grill. Marcus wiped his face shamelessly. Tyler hugged Elena, who was crying too. Dot. Travis would be proud of you. Dot. David said. Dot. Wherever he is. I am sure he is. Dot. That night, Sarah drove back to the motel. But first, she made a stop. Cedar Hill Cemetery. She had not come here in years, but she knew exactly where to go. William, Dot. Bill, Dot. Mitchell's grave. Her grandfather. Sarah knelt and brushed leaves from the stone. Dot. Hi. Grandpa. Dot, she said, her voice breaking. Dot. I am sorry it took so long to come. The wind stirred softly, like an answer. Dot. I got lost for a while. A long while. After Travis died. After you left. I did not know how to go on. Dot. Tears ran freely now. Dot. But I found a path back. I found people who believed in me when I did not. And Grandpa. I am going to teach. I am going to teach young people everything you taught me. She pulled the box wrench from her pocket. The one she had carried for 7 years. Dot. You said I had the best hands you ever saw. It took time, but they remembered. They remembered that machines are honest. That if you listen, they tell you their secrets. Sarah touched the engraving on the wrench. Dot. Thank you for believing in me. Even when I did not deserve it. Dot. She stayed there another 20 minutes. Talking. Crying. Laughing at old memories. When she finally stood to leave, she felt different. Lighter. As if something heavy she had carried for years had at last been set down in the right place. On the way back, she passed a store that was still open. An impulse made her stop. She went in. She bought a small metal frame. When she reached the motel, she placed the box wrench in the frame and hung it on the wall above the bed. No longer in her pocket. No longer hidden. On display. With pride. On her phone, a message from Elena. Dot. First class is in 2 weeks. Your students are excited. Are you ready? Dot. Sarah looked at the wrench on the wall. At her own hands, trembling lightly but working perfectly when it mattered. She typed her answer. Dot. I am ready. Dot. And for the first time in 7 years, Sarah Mitchell believed it completely. The warehouse on East 7th Street had been transformed. What had once been an abandoned depot was now a gleaming training center. Brand new workbenches. Professional tools arranged on panels. 5 lift bays. And on the main wall, in chrome letters, Dot. Mitchell Rodriguez Automotive Training Center, where second chances become first opportunities. Dot. Sarah stood in front of the bathroom mirror, straightening the new polo shirt with the center's logo. Her hands shook, but not from essential tremor. Pure nerves. Dot. You have got this. Dot. Elena appeared in the doorway. Dot. Breathe. Dot. Dot. What if I do not know what to say? Dot. Dot. Then speak from the heart. That is what you do best. Dot. Outside, 200 people gathered. The 15 students of the first class in the front row. Behind them, supporters, donors, press. Jake, Tyler, and Marcus, uncharacteristically formal. David Coleman, representing the family. And in the back row, discreetly, a woman around 60 whom Sarah recognized and felt her heart stop. Her mother. They had not spoken in 7 years. Since her grandfather's funeral, when her mother had said words Sarah would never forget. Dot. You killed your grandfather. I no longer have a daughter. Dot. Elena followed Sarah's gaze. Dot. She called me last week. She asked to come. She said that. She said she was wrong. Dot. Sarah could not answer. She only nodded. Dot. Ready? Dot. Elena asked. Dot. I will never be. But let us go. Dot. They stepped out. The crowd applauded. Sarah climbed a small stage and took the microphone. For a moment she could only look at those 15 young faces. 10 women, 5 men. Between 18 and 24. All with stories. All seeking a chance. Dot. Hi, Dot. Her voice came out rough. She cleared her throat. Dot. I am sorry. I am nervous. Dot. Gentle laughter. Dot. My name is Sarah Mitchell. Some of you know me from the internet. Others from the news. My story is no secret. Dot. She drew a breath. Dot. 7 years ago, I made a mistake that cost the life of someone I loved. I spent the next 7 years punishing myself. Living on the streets. Wishing I would die. Dot. A hush. Dot. But 9 months ago, someone gave me a chance when I did not deserve one. And that chance saved me. Dot. Sarah looked at Elena, who nodded. Dot. So today, we open this center to do the same. To give chances. Especially to those of you who were told you would never make it. Dot. She looked straight at the 10 women in the front row. Dot. To those of you told that mechanic work is for men. That your hands are too delicate. That you should do something more appropriate. Dot. Sarah held up her own hands, visibly shaking. Dot. My hands tremble. I have essential tremor. Without medication. I can barely hold a coffee cup. But do you know what these hands have done? They have fixed a Ferrari. They have saved lives. And they are going to teach you. Dot. One student, a black woman around 20, wiped away tears. Dot. This center is not only about learning mechanics. It is about learning that mistakes do not define you. That a fall is not the end. That there is always a way back. Dot. Sarah's voice broke. Dot. My grandfather taught me that machines are honest. They do not lie. They do not judge. They only need someone who knows how to listen. And you are going to learn to listen. Dot. She looked behind her, where large photos lined the wall. William, Dot. Bill, Dot. Mitchell. Travis Coleman. Sophia Rodriguez. And others, faces of people lost in automotive accidents. Dot. Every car you fix honors someone we lost. Every brake you check might save an entire family. Never forget, you are not only repairing machines. You are protecting lives. Dot. Sarah paused and looked directly into Marcus's camera, filming for the center's documentary. Dot. To anyone watching this and thinking it is too late to start over, that your mistakes defined you forever, that you do not deserve a second chance. Dot. Her voice was strong now, clear. Dot. I am here to say, you do. And it is never, never too late. Dot. The ovation was instant and thunderous. Everyone on their feet. Sarah stepped off the stage on shaky legs. She was swarmed by students wanting to shake her hand, hug her, thank her. But her eyes searched the back row. Her mother stood there, tears running freely. Sarah excused herself from the students and walked to her. They faced each other in silence. Dot. Sarah. Dot. Her mother said at last. Dot. I have no words for how wrong I was. Dot. Dot. Mom. Dot. Dot. No, let me speak. Please. Dot. The older woman breathed unsteadily. Dot. I was shattered when Dad died. I needed someone to blame. I blamed you. I said unforgivable things. And I spent 7 years knowing I had lost my father and my daughter in the same year. Dot. You did not lose your daughter. Dot. Sarah said, voice trembling. Dot. I did. Because I sent you away when you needed me the most. Dot. Her mother took Sarah's shaking hands. Dot. But I saw you on television, saving that family. And I saw Dad in you. His courage. His heart. And I realized you did not kill him. Pain did. And I fed that pain with anger. Dot. Dot. Mom, it is all right. Dot. Dot. It is not. But it can be. If you let me try again. Dot. She opened her arms. Dot. Can I have my daughter back? Dot. Sarah stepped into her mother's arms and cried like a child. Years of pain, loneliness, abandonment pouring out. Dot. I missed you so much. Dot. Sarah sobbed. Dot. I missed you too. So much. Dot. They held each other, healing 7-year wounds while, around them, the celebration rolled on. Monday. 7 o'clock in the morning. Sarah stood in front of 15 students, all in new coveralls with their names stitched on. Dot. Good morning. Welcome to the first day of the rest of your lives. Dot. Sarah smiled. Dot. Let us start with rules. First, in this room, there is no stupid question. Only curiosity. Second, safety is always the priority. Third, we work as a team. No one here is better than anyone else. One student, Jessica, a Mexican-American 19-year-old, raised her hand. Dot. Ms. Mitchell, is it true you fixed a Ferrari without the right tools? It is. And do not try that at home. Sarah laughed. But I will tell that story. And many others. Because learning is not only technique. It is solving problems when things go wrong. The next weeks were intense. Sarah taught diagnosis, engines, transmissions, electrical systems. But more than that, she taught perseverance. When Jessica dropped a bolt and started to cry in frustration, Sarah told the story of the Ferrari and the scratch. When Marcus, student Marcus, not Apex Marcus, missed a diagnosis 3 times, Sarah told them about all the times she had been wrong. When Amy, the youngest at just 18, said she could not lift a heavy component, Sarah showed leverage techniques and teamwork. And always she emphasized, it is not about strength. It is about intelligence. About listening. About not giving up. The Mitchell-Rodriguez Center grew. 3 cohorts now, 45 students. 2 other cities wanting to replicate the model. Job placement rate, 95%. Sarah was in her office reviewing applications for the next class when Elena walked in, excited. Turn on the television. Channel 8. Sarah did. A special segment on the training center. Interviews with graduates. Jessica, now a mechanic at a German luxury dealership. Sarah taught me that a woman can not only do this job, she can be better than anyone. Marcus, working on an electric vehicles team. She taught me that brains beat brute force every time. Amy, the youngest, now opening her own mobile shop. Sarah taught me that size does not matter. Heart does. The reporter came back on screen. Sarah Mitchell, from national villain to inspiring hero. A redemption story that proves it is never too late. Elena turned off the television. You changed lives. Sarah. We changed them. Sarah said. Without you, I would still be on the street. Without you choosing the chance, none of this would exist. A knock at the door. Tyler stepped in, now an official instructor at the center. Sarah, there is someone in the shop asking for you. Sarah went down. In the bay, a young woman waited. Early 20s, worn clothes, an old backpack on her shoulders. Hair unkempt, a pretty face but tired. Sarah recognized that look immediately. The look of someone who had lost everything but still had fire in her eyes. Can I help you? Sarah asked. My name is Rachel. The young woman said, hesitant. I saw your video. The opening one. And I was wondering if, if there's a spot in the next cohort, Sarah finished. Rachel nodded. I do not have money. I lost my job 6 months ago. I am living in my car. But I always loved mechanics. My father taught me before he passed. Sarah felt deja vu so strong she had to breathe. Rachel, classes here are free. Funded by donations. Sarah said gently. And we offer housing assistance if needed. Rachel's eyes filled. Really? Really? But I have to ask, why mechanics? Why now? Rachel looked at her hands. Because when my father was alive, the happiest hours of my life were in his garage, learning to fix things. And after I lost everything, career, apartment, relationships, I realized the only thing that still makes me feel alive is putting my hands on an engine and making it run again. Sarah smiled, feeling her own tears threaten. It was like hearing herself 2 years earlier. Rachel, the next class starts in 3 weeks. But if you want, you can start today as a volunteer apprentice. Learn while you shadow the current class. Today? Rachel could not believe it. Today. Tyler, can you show Rachel the lockers? And grab a coverall, size, medium, Sure. Tyler said, smiling. Come on. Rachel. Welcome to the family. As Rachel followed Tyler, turning back every few steps as if afraid it would all vanish, Elena came up beside Sarah. You saw yourself in her, did you not? I did. Sarah admitted. Scarily so. And. And I will make sure her story ends better than mine began. Elena hugged Sarah. Your story ended well too. In fact, it is still ending. This is only the beginning. Sarah looked around. Students working on cars. Laughter. Learning. Purpose. Life. Outside, through the window, Austin kept its rhythm. Cars passing. People living. And somewhere, someone needing a second chance. Sarah slipped a hand into her pocket and touched the box wrench. She did not carry it every day anymore, but today she had. Intuition. She pulled it out and read the engraving. SG. The best hands I ever saw. Grandpa Bill, 2015. Grandpa. She whispered. I hope you are seeing this. Your hands of gold made other hands of gold. And they will make more. Forever. An impossible breeze moved through the shop, as if in reply. Sarah smiled, tucked the wrench away, and went back to work. Because there were engines to fix. Lives to transform. Stories to rewrite. And Sarah Mitchell, once broken, now rebuilt, was only getting started.